Hailing frequencies open and welcome aboard Treks and Tangents. I'm your co-host Brian.
And I'm your co-host Jaci. I'm the Star Trek newbie who checks off on tangents.
And I'm your Star Trek expert who is here to get the tangents back on track. Each episode we watch and talk about a different Star Trek episode. And this week we watched
Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 0, The Cage.
Hey, you said Star Trek and not Star Wars.
It gets caught in my head.
Yeah, so here we are, the first official episode of the podcast.
Woohoo!
After many test episodes. We started with Fringe, trying to work out the episode script and the flow of each episode. And then Fringe went away from streaming,
which sucked.
And then we quickly transitioned to Stargate SG-1, and we probably did about 15, 16 test episodes total.
Yeah, we have a thing for stars.
Yeah, that's true. We do. So we'll probably have those posted somewhere. They're not up yet. Maybe maybe on Patreon somewhere. But
you can listen to all my mess ups.
Yes, all of the structuring and formatting that went into making the script, and hopefully that means we're just going to have a smooth episode this time, but probably not. We'll see. So as you heard in the intro to the podcast, I'm Brian. I'm the co-host that has the most Star Trek knowledge. I call myself a Star Trek expert. Fun fact, I'm not. I just have watched it over and over and over. But I don't know everything about Star Trek. I know enough to keep the episode going. Jaci, why don't you introduce yourself to our dozens and dozens of listeners?
Well, I'm Jaci, and I have watched maybe 5 episodes total while it's running in the background, and my dad is vegging out at night. So I kind of know what's happening.
Kinda knows what's happening. So, and that's going to be the whole fun of each and every episode that we do on this podcast is talking about the episode, listening to Jaci explain the episode. I'll jump in and kind of pull it back on track once we go too far off on a tangent.
I mean, I might throw in what is it? New generation?
The next generation?
Next generation. Yes, that one.
So that's actually kind of a perfect segue into our next little part. Normally, in the future episodes, we will kind of do a recap of the last episode that we recorded the previous week. But being this is the first episode, we don't have a previous episode. So I told Jaci, don't worry about it. I had an idea for what we were going to do. So, Jaci, why don't you list as many Star Trek series as you can?
Oh, man. I saw that there was a lot of them as I was scrolling. So let's see. We have our original series.
That's a gimme since we're actually starting at that point with the episode.
The Next Generation.
Very good.
Isn't there like a cartoon like Under Deck or something?
Lower Deck.
Lower Deck.
Okay, we'll give you credit for that.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got.
I'm sure there's a lot more.
Well, real quickly, let me run you through what all different series of Star Trek there are.
Are there any fuzzy things like the Tribble?
There are Tribbles, but there's no series dedicated to the Tribbles, unfortunately.
That sucks.
So we have Star Trek, the original series, the animated series.
They have an animated series?
Of the original series, they do.
That's funny.
We had The Next Generation, which you know, of course.
Yes.
I think a lot of us know The Next Generation. I think a lot of our generation, that's where things kicked off for us. But after The Next Generation, we have Deep Space Nine.
I was going to say that.
Then we have Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Star Trek Shorts was technically a thing, Picard, Lower Decks, which you got.
Yeah.
And then we have Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, and not out yet, but coming soon, early 2026, Starfleet Academy. To date,
So I knew Voyager and I knew like 2 other ones. I just I was just tricking you.
Yeah. So I mean, the Next Generation is the bald captain.
Picard.
Picard. Deep Space Nine is the other bald captain on the spaceship, Cisco. Sorry, space station.
There's multiple bald guys.
Yes. And then Voyager, which was Catherine Janeway.
I love her. She's the doctor. No, she's not the doctor.
Nope, not a doctor. Captain.
But she's a redhead.
Nope.
I can see her in my head.
You're thinking of Dr. Beverly Crusher from The Next Generation
Oh.
with Picard. So, folks, this is some of the fun that you have to look forward to in the coming episodes as Jaci teaches us about Star Trek. But
I sure do.
moving into this week's episode, Jaci, what were your initial impressions of The Cage?
I watched it with my mouth gaping open the whole time because I did not understand what the heck was going on. And I had to keep reminding myself that this was an very old episode and series, and they are not using like CGI and all that great jazz.
No, very little CGI.
But I could be like a pew 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 pew.
You would be on the same level of what special effects they were using when they recorded this out.
I practiced.
You practiced. Yes.
Pew pew.
This
pew,
is
pew.
definitely 1960s science fiction. This kind of lays some groundwork for Star Trek, but again, this was a pilot episode that actually did not lead to the series. This was a pilot episode that was rejected, and they had to go back to the drawing board.
I understand why.
It's a good episode. It does a lot, but it is definitely not the Star Trek that we will eventually see evolve in the first season of this series.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
So I like the episode. Even though it
pew pew
is even though it is not an episode that is part of the main canon of Star Trek, even though there's a lot of this episode that doesn't carry forward into Star Trek, I get the feeling that a lot of us Star Trek nerds will always recognize the big brain aliens that are in this episode. That is such an iconic image that I think follows all of us. And I think it's also because, not just because it's reused in later episodes, but I think this is kind of our first glimpse as to the science fiction aspect of what Star Trek becomes.
Or they're in your nightmares.
Or they're in your nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes, the horror of the big brain aliens. So, without further ado, Jaci, why don't you walk us through this episode?
Pew pew. I'm just kidding. Okay. So we first open up and we're like on this weird space station. I guess they call it the bridge.
What do you call it now?
It's probably the bridge, right?
Yeah, it's the bridge.
Oh, well, the bridge. And I don't know why it's called the bridge. Maybe it's because they have like stadiums. It's like stadium seating. The people are on the floor with the giant computer things, and then the captain has a fancy captain's chair, and then the lieutenant gal, she's cool, and then you got all the people standing behind him. Is that why it's called the bridge?
Well, it's a starship. First and foremost, you called it a station.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the it's modeled. Star Trek will eventually become, and Starfleet will be modeled after our navies, our military navies, and so bridge of the ship. So these are Navy vessels, but they're in space.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so we're there, and then we hear a weird beeping sound, and it's not like the pew pew, but it's a weird beeping sound, and then it has another siren, and then more noise. We keep beeping, and it like just changes, and then they're all like, "What's that sound? What's happening?" Our people, and so then they go, "Wait, is it? I think of the Mr. Spock they call him. He says that's a old time signal that we need help.
Yeah, they think it's a meteor at first, and I think they try to show that something very quickly passes the view screen of the starship, like zooms past the ship. It was very quick and very anticlimactic where they said, "Oh no, it's not a meteor, it's just a radio signal."
Which is kind like they're both though scary because if it's a call for help, who are you gonna call? Not Ghostbusters. All
Wrong series for sure.
right. Well, anyways, back to my chat. So they're all so they found out that it's an old signal, and they're talking about well, we learned about this Talus star group. The starship Columbia was supposed to go and check it out. Oh, I get what you're talking about. The Navy, the SS Columbia, because they
Yes.
called it that. So,
Yes.
well, that was 18 years ago. So hopefully they're alive still, but the peeping is still happening, and the captain decides, why don't we just go out there and make sure they're okay and see if
Nope.
anyone needs rescuing.
Nope.
I jumped ahead.
No, well, first to back up just a little bit from the tangent,
I
the
got excited.
clearly the distress signal is important. You were right. It matched. They were able to identify it as matching from the spaceship Columbia that disappeared 18 years prior. They mentioned that it would be quite unique because there's no quote Earth colonies this far out into the system. Don't try to pay attention or plot on a map where the Talus system is at this time or where it is relative to Earth. They were not paying that close attention for continuity for the pilot episode. They do identify a quote M class planet, which is classified as an Earth like planet, but at this time, Pike does not order the Enterprise to divert to investigate because they are already on their way to the Vega colony to take care of other crew members on the Enterprise that are sick and injured, mostly injured. Some have died. We'll learn why in a little bit. But he says, continue on course to the Vega colony. I'm going to go to my quarters. And it's obvious from some glances amongst the bridge crew that not everyone agrees with his decision.
That's right. I typed the wrong thing. That was all supposed to be about Vega. So Captain Pike is now in his quarters, and everything just like beeps and opens magically like an elevator. And he's like, Dr. Boyce, please come.
Yeah, he just calls him doctor, I think.
Well, the doctor is Dr. Boyce. And he's an old man, and he comes with his little his doctor bag. It's adorable.
It's like a suitcase or something.
Yeah, he like pulled. It has like everything in it. Like he's like Doctor Gadget.
Yeah, and it's funny that Pike literally summons him on the intercom, and the doctor is there a couple seconds later. There's no downtime, and he's dressed in a bathrobe. He's very much like Hugh Hefner.
Well, he was sleeping, and so the captain is talking about how they're going to Vega, but he has a headache, and then the doctor he acts like a bartender, pulls out some alcohol, and then starts chatting with him about how everything is going to be okay or what his plans are.
Yeah, the doctor makes the comment that he's going to play the role of the bartender because people will open up to their bartenders more than their doctor.
Right, while having a martini.
It's good to know they have martinis in the future.
So Pike is tired and he misses home, and he's just talking, yeah, doing what the doctor said, opening up and discussing how he just wants to go home. He's responsible for 200 people. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. Like, why is he out there? Like, can't we just go home? Can't he retire already? I don't know why he wants to retire because he looks so young.
Yeah, I don't know how Pike I don't know how old Pike is supposed to be in this moment. It's also important to note, sprinkled into this conversation with the doctor, they do talk about this last mission that they were on, which was at Rigel 7. We'll see it in a bit, where they did have a encounter, a fight with aliens on the planet.
Yeah.
That's where these dead and injured crewmates are coming from. That's the reason why they're going to the Vega colony. And that leads to Pike's feelings of stress and not wanting to be in charge and not wanting to be responsible for people anymore and wanting to just leave it all behind.
He wants to go see his 2 horses.
Does mention that he has 2 horses. I don't know if he mentions at this point where he grew up, but it was on Earth. It just refers to it as Mojave. So we assume the Mojave Desert as we know it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then so he's chatting along, and then Mr. Spock interrupts them, and he's like, "You need to come. There's news of the survivors, of the crash survivors."
Specifically, that they got a new message from Talus, and it confirms that there are survivors from the Columbia.
So what's he gonna do? I don't know. But hang on, I got you, because I know what he's gonna do. So he knows that there's 11 survivors on the Talus 4 somehow. They tell him that 11 people are alive.
Well, they get they go back to the bridge. We don't see it, but they go back to the bridge. They print the message out on what looks like is a fax machine. In reality, it's probably a stage crew person underneath the control board or the prop control board for the ship, pushing a piece of paper out of a hole.
Oh, that's true. And we learn, though, that the Tellus is the most Earth-like. So they can go rescue the 11. They can go help them and be safe at the same time. They know the food and water. But, so Pike calls someone, and then all of a sudden they're doing a time warp, factor 7. I have no idea what that means.
So this would be the first attempt for the show to explain interstellar travel, and they do refer to it as warp travel.
Oh, it wasn't Rocky Horror.
No, it's not Rocky Horror. That they're traveling faster than the speed of light. Later, Star Trek will, as a show, as a series, will define what warp travel is and what the different numbers mean for the speed. But just for the pilot episode, I literally think they just pulled a name and a number out of their butt to make it sound futuristic and science fiction like. And we do get the really trippy warp travel transition of the crew on the bridge, but also imposed over that image are these stars flying by. It's 1960s. It's the best CGI that they can come up with, the best special effects.
But while they're warping, though, the captain is trying to run around getting everything ready, and he runs into this lovely young lady called Yeoman.
Which would be her rank or her job and not her name.
And I learned that later on, but at first I didn't. Like, it doesn't tell you that.
Yeah. We don't ever know her name in the episode. The only reason that her character has a name is established later on in other publications, comic books, I believe.
And then he makes this sexist comment about how, except for the lieutenant, he didn't even know Yeoman was, I don't even know her name.
Yeoman
was here, and she's new to the position and needs to catch on. And the lieutenant is this older lady. She's not older, probably like 30s, 40s. And she's like, she's young. She will learn her part. Give her a chance.
Yeah. I think at some point in the episode as a throwaway line, if you follow the breadcrumbs and you pick apart conversations like the conversation that Pike has with the doctor in his quarters and other little one-off throwaway lines, you can piece together the fact that Yeoman is the position that's a personal assistant to the captain or an officer. Pike did have a yeoman before, and he was killed in this
Oh.
last mission. And
So no wonder he's salty.
so he's salty because he's lost his personal assistant, who other media has established is a friend of Pike, and he was close to him. So yeah, he's a little testy. But again, I think in the moment recording this episode, none of that mythos, none of that backstory is really fleshed out or established. This is literally just an opportunity the writers took so that Pike can make a stereotypical God, women, who knows what's up with them?
Yeah, rude.
1960s.
Well, I did notice that there was a lot of stabs at the whole lady thing.
Oh, yeah.
But we've only met 2 ladies so far.
So far.
So, but now we're back to the warping, and we've landed on this planet, and it's bleak. Like, it's just all I see is a rock and dirt, nothing green and edible. But they're walking around, and they see this blue plant that's just like floating, and they look at it in awe.
So it's also the source of this annoying little metallic humming that's going on in the background. Because
The plant?
the plant.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, that makes more sense.
Because as you watch when they go up to it and it's vibrating and Pike touches it and he like stops some of the leaves from vibrating, and the pitch, the noise in the background changes. It kind of diminishes, and then he lets go and it picks back up, and then Spock touches it and stops some of the leaves from shaking. And again, the noise diminishes and then it comes back. It's a noise that is going to be reused later on in at least the original series as kind of this background noise to maybe add a little bit of flavor and tension to some of these alien planet scenes.
Interesting.
But I don't think the blue plant comes back.
No, I don't see it.
And also of note that we absolutely have to mention, because it is very, I think, telling. What does Spock do when he touches the
He smiles. The first time I've seen him smile.
And it's going to be one of the only times that you see him smile. Again, it's not established yet in Star Trek that Spock is, that Vulcans don't experience emotion, or that they suppress their emotions, so they don't have these quote unquote outbursts or outward showings of emotions. But it's not established in Star Trek at this very moment. We're, 15 minutes into an episode?
So it's odd that he's smiling by touching a humming plant.
It's certainly off character that would stick out more in later episodes. But I mean, at this point, I don't even think that we never established that Spock is a Vulcan. We
just call him Mr. Spock, and he rattles off words.
Yep. I don't even.
Statistics.
They don't even get into what a Vulcan is or establish what a Vulcan is. So again, just a funny little moment from a episode that never sees the light of day practically. But
No, but I'm learning. It's interesting. So they're walking around, and then they find a tent city of survivors. They're human. They have actual tents. It's like they're camping, but shipwrecked.
yeah, I think Tent City is giving them too much credit.
Oh, it's kind of sucky. And then of course, they find a beautiful woman with blue eyes, almost the color of the leaves. And her name is Vina, and she is very devious.
Well, and she's beautiful, and they tell the survivors of the crash identify themselves as survivors from the Columbia, and they say that is Vina was born directly right after the crash, and her parents died shortly after she was born in this inhospitable environment, which points out how long ago did the Columbia crash?
18 years ago.
So, boy howdy, does the show want us to know that Vina, the attractive female, the sex symbol of the episode, is of age.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's definitely a little too on the nose, but I don't think there's any way to escape that that's what the show was trying to do at that moment.
Well, that makes sense too, because it's all men, and she just pops up. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
weird.
guess you could also tie it into the plot later on, Vina is very much supposed to be this bait for Pike. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to put some credibility to the reason why the show is so on the nose about pointing out her age, it's so that no one has any question that Pike is a creep. Pike, if he were to make advances toward Vina, she is of age. He's not being a total creep. He's being a little bit of a creep, but
That makes sense. So they're all chatting and getting to know each other. While they're talking, a black screen pops up on our TV screen, and it's kind of like a two-way mirror, and the aliens, egg light bulb head aliens, are
big brain
staring,
aliens.
big brain aliens are staring at them, watching them through this. And then we pop back after we see them being watched, and the survivors are discussing how they're so healthy and able to stay healthy and strong going on. And Vina, while she's talking about Pike's perfection, but Dr. Boyce isn't sure about how these crash victims are so great.
Well, they've been on this alien planet for 18 years. There's obviously not a lot of resources around the planet. They're not tip top technology, as evident by their tent city, as you put it. I mean, it looks like they have a still running in the middle of their camp.
They all say there's a secret to why they're so healthy and strong, and Vina offers to show Captain Pike just how they are, how it is. And so off they go.
It sounds a lot more devious than what it is. She's going to show them what's up, how it is, what's going on. But you're right. To show the secret of why they've been able to stay so relatively healthy in these 18 years on this planet.
Because I would want to know. Things happen. So Vina leads Captain Pike into this rocky area, and then they're going up, 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 up. It's really a ramp, but they're going up this rocky cliff, and she's looking over it like, can't you see it? There's secrets down there. And then she like slyly moves on the other side of him, so he's closer to this hole in the rock, and he's still looking over. And then next thing we know, she poof disappears, and the tent city people disappear. Then all of a sudden, the door opens, and our captain is shot with this orange mustard gas.
Shot by the aliens that came out of the elevator.
That's true. Yes. And then we see that the crew that is with Pike noticed that the people disappeared, and so they were running after him to go save him. They're late, and they're trying to shoot the rock, which actually is just covering what we learn is an elevator door.
Well, let's back up. Yeah, so the aliens come out of the rock, come up an elevator. They pull an unconscious Pike into the elevator, and I think that's what the rest of the Enterprise crew sees. That's when they come upon the scene. And that's the reason why they try to shoot out the rock face and the elevator door to rescue Pike.
Oh, so that hopefully they can break the rock and just go down a hole. But the team cannot get in, and Spock reports to Enterprise about the trap.
Yeah, because their lasers, their phasers, whatever the show is calling these handheld laser weapons at this time, are not powerful enough, apparently, to break through the metal or whatever material the elevator doors are made out of. It blows the rocks apart perfectly, but it can't get past the alien metal.
Meanwhile, underground, Pike wakes up on bed without all of his gear. He's just in this this glass-like cell, but he sees other creatures around him. There's like this monkey bird thing that transitions like a monkey, but then as it walks away, it looks like a rooster. And like those shadow puppet games?
Yeah, and it's in another cell that would appear to be similar or identical to the cell that Pike's in.
At first, I thought he was like a guard, like in case he got out, like a prison guard. But then I saw that he also was in a cage. In walked the giant brain aliens. They seem to float, actually, but
Yeah, I don't know that they're levitating. I think they're just walking with grace.
well, that too, because they believe that they are higher than anybody else. They
That
use and they communicate with telepathy. You never see them talking to each other.
they do at certain points communicate verbally to the humans and to themselves, but that is definitely when they want to have a conversation with others. When they're talking amongst themselves, and like in this instance, they're talking like Pike is not present, they're talking about him, not with him. They definitely are talking in telepathy, even though Pike can hear them.
Right. They're having this conversation and saying, "Oh, look how low intelligence he is. Oh, right now he's getting mad. He's going to punch the wall. He's going to throw something at us." It's like they anticipate his actions. And then he gets even more mad.
Yeah, they definitely have him pegged, or they think that they have him pegged.
Yes, keyword think. And then, but Pike does say, if there's a way out of this cage, he will find it. And then you're like, yeah. The big brain aliens are now excited to start an experiment.
Well, they ominously say that they're going to start an experiment on Pike, with Pike. We don't know.
But now we're back at the Enterprise. The crew is back on board and they're discussing the mission's failure. The survivors they thought they saw were just illusions to get the crew to quote unquote rescue them.
As a trap.
Yes. And they take what they wanted to see, survivors, that's getting the crew to head over. But then they are able to lure the captain away and steal him. The aliens have brains we learned. They have brains 3 times bigger than humans. And the crew has to be smart with this rescue. The lieutenant, she's pretty badass if you ask me, plans to use the ship power to blast through the metal in order to rescue Pike.
Yes, the vague and ominous ship's power, whatever that means.
I had no idea either. It's just like, don't you need power to run the ship?
I'll be 100% honest with you. I don't think the writers know what they meant when they put that line in the show. But
while Pike is in his underground cell, looking around, trying to find a way to get out, he's pacing and pacing. The aliens are discussing the memory ability of Pike and want to see him and keep him occupied. They want to see what he's doing, learn about him. But they also see sadness and loss from his past. A snap of the finger, his cage transfers to another mission. 2 weeks ago, he was at Rigel 7. That fight that we learned about earlier.
yeah, that he was talking about to the doctor.
But weirdly, Vina is there also.
Dressed in what appears to be cultural appropriate clothing for the planet, the mission. No longer in her survivor scrubs.
And they run into the castle where they hide from a solitary warrior. He's like in fur and crazy.
He looks
huge.
Mongolian. He looks like the Mongolian people from that episode of Stargate that we talked about.
Oh, yes. Meanwhile, Vina is like, go kill him. Go kill him. And Pike doesn't know what to do. Like, this is an illusion, but he doesn't want to kill the warrior. But the next thing we know, the warrior is attacking Vina. So now he has to fight the warrior.
Yeah, it's almost as... I don't know if this is obviously an illusion that's being created by the big brain aliens. I don't know if the big brain aliens are controlling the warrior and forcing Pike into a corner and forcing him to fight, or if that's just the way that this illusion and this memory plays out. It certainly would make sense if the big brain aliens were manipulating the illusion to force Pike to fight the warrior, because that's what they want in the end.
Oh, that would make sense. But he has to fight him to save Vina and save himself, and he ends up killing him. And then we're back in Pike's cell.
And we're in the cell, and when they they don't really wake up. They just kind of snap out of this illusion that they were in. And Pike's there, and Vina's in the cell with them, and the big brain people are outside the cell, almost like they were voyeurs. They were watching this all unfold, I'm sure. We know they were. We find out later they were. And then they walk away because they've had their entertainment.
And then while they're gone, Pike is asking Vina questions. He wants to know why she's there. What's the point? And she's like, I'm your companion, so we can be together. And, one man, one woman.
Yeah, she says that because Pike wants to know if she's real or not. And she's, countering all of his questions with vague answers. I can be anything you want. I can be as real as I want. I can take on any appearance that you want. I can literally be what you most desire.
This did remind me of Pretty Woman when she said, I can be anything.
Slightly different motivations, but yes.
Meanwhile, the Enterprise landing crew and our famous lieutenant have arrived with their super blaster so they could try to open up that elevator door again. So they're blasting and blasting, and the lieutenant keeps calling for more power because they're not seeing any breaking of the door. It's still standing for them.
Right. They've managed to get through the rock, but they can't get through whatever metal the elevator door is made out of.
And sadly, they use all their power and they can't, and they have to stop.
Yeah, they're channeling the ship's power, whatever that means, down to the planet through this giant laser. And they have to stop because it's not just the laser that's going to burn out, it's systems and the Enterprise ship itself.
And the laser machine is like turning orange, like it's going to blow up.
Right.
But it might not be a failure because Dr. Boyce does tell them it could be an illusion. So don't believe everything.
Yeah, Doctor seems to be the only one who has this intelligence or this knowledge that leads him to this conclusion of the aliens could be creating the illusion that they failed when in fact they succeeded.
And back underground with our gal Vina and Captain Pike, they're in the same cell again, and Pike is trying to get information while Vina is begging him to just relive memories. Like, just let me be a part of it for just one. And he's like, well, I need information first. And so Vina tells him the big headed aliens are actually called Telosian. And there was a war on this planet and it forced them to go underground. While they were underground.
And this took place thousands of centuries ago.
Yes.
Long ass time ago.
Oh, they got to learn how to be like mole people.
Exactly.
While they were underground, they created illusions to enjoy dreams about anything. So they actually became addicted to it.
Yeah, this is the origin of modern day virtual reality, video games, streaming from home. They have become addicted to these abilities that they have fostered and cultured and evolved over the course of these thousands and thousands of centuries.
So while being into all of this, they don't want to go above ground and fix anything that could make them be able to live above ground and be successful and maybe even grow things, repopulate, do anything.
Well, and Vina even goes so far as to say that over the course of generations with these people, the big brain people, the aliens, that they have lost the knowledge of how to fix technology, how to exist, because they have been so locked into and so addicted to their abilities, their telepathic way of reliving these memories.
Yet they think they're so much better than everyone.
Right. Which, of course, is why they're collecting specimens. That's why they collected Pike. That's why they had these other animals in their cages so that they could provide new memories for them to experience. Because it gets old watching the same episode on Netflix day after day.
But they like to have pairs, so it's kind of like they have their own arc.
Yeah, they mentioned this idea of having a pair of humans. It's really poorly explained. I think it would have been better if they jumped into it now, but it does heavily imply that they're looking for a man and a woman human to breed, to propagate, to create offspring.
Which is why Pike was called a fine specimen at the very beginning.
Correct.
Piece of meat.
That's all he is to them.
But the Telosians find out that she's given away secrets and they punish her with their own telepathy, and she's writhing on the floor of the cell and Pike doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, she screams and in despair, pain, anguish, but then she disappears. She leaves her clothes, but she disappears.
So she's running around naked.
We would presume.
So Pike now is looking for a way to get out again. He's pushing buttons, what he thinks are buttons, trying to find crevices. Then a rock moves and a drink is given to him. Should he drink it? Is it like Alice in Wonderland now?
Right.
So Pike chooses not to drink it. And the big brained alien is all, well, if you don't drink it, we can either make you drink it or you'll just be in a place that's like hell. And he's this illusion of being in pain and tortured. And then he's forced to drink the food cup, whatever is in this cup. He's just forced to drink it.
That's one of my more favorite moments in this episode is when he is transported to this hellish landscape. Fantastic set design, fantastic acting for the 10 seconds that they do it for. It's also very telling and kind of cool that the alien, in describing what Pike just experienced, that he pulled that image from Pike's mind as a fable from his youth. This idea that hell is a fable, hell, this religious idea, is not real, that it is not canon, that it is not truth. Little interesting comment.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I like that. So while he's so angry, he decides to rush the glass, and he startles we'll name him the keeper. And that's when Pike figures out that if he is staying in this more primitive emotion, anger, as he chooses, that these aliens can't read what he's thinking. And he's able to maybe get away with things, maybe be able to get out of this hellhole that he's in.
He's able to hide his thoughts from the aliens.
That too. And then we also learn, though, that the aliens want Pike to like Vina. And so in every memory that they put him in, she's in a different look. Blonde, brunette, different dressing. It's interesting what they're doing.
I don't think her hair color actually ever changes.
I thought she was a brunette when they were in the Mojave.
I don't think so.
I could be wrong, though. But speaking of the Mojave, we do get to see him. It's another illusion, of course, but we see him enjoying a picnic with a lady friend, Vina, and he has his 2 horses there.
And I just pulled up the still. She's still blonde.
Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah, I don't think they had the budget for wigs.
Maybe it's because I like the lieutenant so much.
I bet you I know what you're thinking of. I'll point it out when we get there.
Okay. And so, I mean, I want to be in that memory of just hanging out with your gal. I would probably choose my guy. But having a picnic, playing with your horses, riding in your home, it's so wonderful and peaceful. But that's when Mina is actually his wife, and he's remembering all of those good memories.
Yeah, she's definitely leaning into the playing house aspect of the illusion, and as she is speaking, it is very much playing this character of his wife, and she refers to children that they supposedly have.
And his
This is
mother's recipe.
the mother's recipe. She's playing a part. This is also the first time that we have seen Vina from the time that she was punished for speaking out and sharing secrets about the big brain aliens. So she is probably back slightly into this mentality of being subservient to what the big brain people want.
True. And Vina is trying to keep this illusion going while Pike is trying to figure out how to get away.
Yeah, and he's running ideas by her about his newly discovered fact that he can mask his thoughts with primal rage or raw emotion that the big brain aliens can't seem to penetrate through to read his thoughts. And Vina doesn't want to do any of it. She does finally break at the end and tries to reason with him and try to convince him to just play along and play into the illusion and to play house with her.
But then we go to another illusion where Pike is this wealthy slave trader, and we see that Vina is dressed as a slave. She's green.
Yeah, because back on Mojave, Vina was her last words or her parting words as she's arguing with Pike to play house and to beg him to play into this illusion was to make a comment that she hypothesizes that he can't play into the illusion, he can't play along, but maybe he can play along with an illusion where he can drop all of his responsibilities. Taking us all the way back to the conversation he had with the doctor about how he doesn't want to be captain, he doesn't want to have responsibilities over the members of the Enterprise, and he wants to just go into a lifestyle where he has no responsibilities. That's where he's transported into this new illusion, which is, as you said, a rich and wealthy boss or a king or just a wealthy merchant. I'm going to assume, based on Star Trek knowledge, he's a wealthy Orion slave trader. Vina is now taking the illusion of a Vina slave girl in her full green makeup. This is the part that she has changed her hair color, and she is now a brunette or black hair. It's hard to tell, but this is now the illusion that they're presenting to Pike to tempt him to play ball.
Well, and sadly, the green paint is coming off, and it's like, I just want to put it back on, but budget. But with your explanation, now I understand why he went to this, because this made no sense to me.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. This is the sex appeal of the episode. This is the sex appeal to try to sell the series.
Ah.
It's just a convenient excuse.
Like Star Wars. When she's, but whatever. All right. All of Pike's groupies, I guess, for lack of a better term, are all talking about how they can have a group of sexy slave girls. And Pike does not like this idea. He just runs away.
Well, the scene goes on for quite a bit where it's definitely, here's Vina dancing, here's Pike struggling with the decision, here's more Vina dancing. As you said, the groupies are definitely egging him on, going, come on, man, this is a hell of a lifestyle. You got a hell of a place here. This is great. Let's keep doing this, which is interesting. But
and as he's running off, the music has stopped, and then he's back in his cave, his little cage, and Vina is behind him, though, with a torch.
Right, as kind of a...
She's, cornering him. You have to make a decision.
Yeah, you either... That's a good way to put it. This is the decision moment where Pike is confronted and is told, you can either play along and live out a life in these illusions, or whatever consequences are going to happen.
And then while they are discussing everything, we snap back to the Enterprise, where another crew is on their way to try again to rescue Pike.
With a new plan.
They have a underground power source signal thing they want to use.
Well, I'll break down the tech. they've
Because I have no idea.
they've scanned a power source on the planet, specifically underneath the surface of the planet.
Oh.
If the aliens are coming and going to the planet's surface through an elevator, it's safe to say that they're living or they have something underground. And so the Enterprise is going to use their teleporter, the same technology that they use to teleport down to the planet. They're now just going to beam or teleport themselves underground close to this power source, with the idea that the power source is in an open space and it's tied to the big brain people, which will now put them underground with them and allow them to rescue Pike.
But somehow the transport doesn't fully work. The gals, Lieutenant and Yeoman, they are now in the cell with Pike and Vina.
Which is
awkward.
And important to point out that this, I think, would be the first time that the aliens show that they not only have the power to create illusions, but they have the power to actually affect the systems of the Enterprise and the away team, which ponders the question, if they have the ability to control the Enterprise, and we, spoiler alert, find out later that the giant laser beam with the ship's power was able to actually break through the elevator, why did the big brain aliens allow the laser to break through the elevator? Why didn't they just shut down the laser? It's an interesting thought. It's a plot hole.
Well, how else would you have two beautiful women back inside of a cage and quote unquote fighting over Pike to be his chosen love?
Right.
For that Adam and Eve feeling.
Right, but this has to be more than just the power of illusion. The big brain aliens didn't create the illusion that the transporter malfunctioned. They had to have been able to control the transporter to cause the malfunction.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, if they have that ability to actually manipulate the Enterprise, which we find out they do, they shut off all the power in a little bit, and they access the ship's libraries. So they have this ability beyond creating illusion. Those are not illusions. Those are actual manipulation of the systems of the ship. So then they should have the ability to manipulate the transporters to cause this situation. It again just doesn't make sense that they didn't then step in and prevent the destruction of the elevator. And instead, all they did was create the illusion that it didn't work instead of actually preventing it. Plot hole.
True. I mean, I could think that they could have done that illusion to try to just have the people stop and then just go away.
Yeah.
Like they didn't think they would care about their prime specimen as much as they do.
Yeah. But they allowed the elevator to get destroyed. They don't have the ability or the knowledge to repair the elevator because they don't have the ability to repair the machines of their ancestors. Okay.
But anyways.
Enough of that tangent. Let's get back on track. Hey.
So the girls still have the girls still have their guns. And so they're like, let's use our laser guns and shoot our way out of here.
Phasers?
All right, phasers. And they don't work in here. So I guess they're an illusion also. They're just hanging out. And the girls are supposed to fight over Pike and see who wins, which one is the Eve. And the magistrate discusses each woman's attributes. One of the aliens, the big-brained aliens. Each lady is this, and which one you want.
And Vina doesn't like any of this because she's essentially going to be, she's worried she's going to be replaced.
I would be worried too if I was hanging out with a hottie and two others came.
Well, and we discover later that she's effectively trapped on the planet. This is not just a situation where she is held captive and is forced to do what the big aliens want. She does want Pike. She wants companionship. So, and of course, back on a tangent of the misogyny of early sci-fi as the big brain alien is describing these attributes of his female crew members, the lieutenant and yeoman. They, of course, their reactions are very telling that he's not making it up. He's not bullshitting Pike. They do feel and have these emotions toward Pike. I don't know why we had to make that part of the episode, but boy, the writers decided to do it.
But while the lieutenant and Pike are gone, we have Mr. Spock as the reigning captain. And he decides that he's going to just keep going to Vega.
Yeah, he's going to declare this mission is lost. He's going to put the best efforts or the best interests of the Enterprise ahead of personal feeling, and he's taken off, or he thinks he's taken off.
Because the ship ends up losing its power.
Which we mentioned just a few moments ago, and this is the big brain aliens stepping in and stopping it from happening. Don't know why. This would get rid of their problem, but...
And then we pop back into the cage as Spock and everybody is trying to figure out why the power is out. And Pike is pretending to sleep near that food door. And he sees that the food is being delivered. Well, you know when you sleep with your eyes a little bit closed so you can still see.
It's called playing possum for those paying attention at home.
Oh, well, he's playing possum, and he grabs the alien who's passing off the food and trying to strangle him, but then he turns into a boar.
He turns into
an illusion of a boar.
The illusion of the monkey bird creature thing from the other cell.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
And I mean, that's kind of scary, but it doesn't affect Pike because he knows what's happening and demands to stop tricking him. He's trying to do things.
For those playing at home, the do things that Pike is trying to do is escape.
Yes, they're trying to escape. So just let him go. And then we see back with Mr. Spock that the aliens have taken over the Enterprise and they're scanning the library. They're learning everything.
Yeah, it's important to note that just before we cut to the Enterprise and the library being scanned, the last thing we see in the conversation, the ongoing conversation between the big brain alien, the keeper, the leader of the big brains, to Pike is that while he's being choked, the big brain says he will destroy the Enterprise unless Pike lets him go. Again, maybe that's why he made maybe that's why they're keeping the Enterprise in orbit as a bargaining chip. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe I'll accept that explanation.
See, I didn't hear that, but now I understand. But Pike creatively thinks about his illusion, and if it's an illusion and the blasters are empty, in reality, they must not be empty. So he grabs them and he starts shooting the rocks.
The glass of the
glass
cell.
In the zoo. And they're able to escape.
He shoots the glass of the cell. He then calls the big brain's bluff and says, I shot it. It didn't fire. The cell is intact. And if that's real and not an illusion, when I point the phaser at you and pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen. But if you're just screwing with us, and in fact, I just blew a hole to escape from, and you're hiding it with an illusion, I'm going to point this phaser at you, and it's going to blow your head off. And rather than continue the bluff, the big brain alien drops the illusion. We see that he did, in fact, blast a hole in the cell, and they're able to escape back up the elevator.
Well, the big brain alien did not want to die because he knew everything was fake.
Yes.
And so they're going back up the elevator, and it's easy to see that unbroken elevator door is actually broken because the illusion is gone.
Yep, they come up the elevator and there is no more elevator door. The whole top of the rock has been blasted off.
It's like a trap door they come up.
Yeah, proving, well, fun fact, why are they on a cliff?
That's true.
So the whole reason that the elevator door opens at the top of the cliff is so that the effect of watching everyone go down the elevator, they're dropping down into the prop of the cliff. That way, for practical shooting purposes, they didn't have to have the elevator go below the ground into the set.
Oh, cool.
Movie magic.
The keeper, as you call him, reveals the plan to actually want to breed humans so that they can be slaves, so they can fix everything. So everybody can live above ground again and make a new, I don't know, line of humans.
Well, certainly a new civilization that
That's
is
what I was trying to say.
in service to the big brain people. Do all the manual labor, fix all the machines because the big brain people no longer can do it.
So instead of being slaves, Pike threatens suicide, and the lieutenant begins to overload the phaser, so that's going to kill everyone rather than be enslaved and have to breed with each other and create that civilization. Meanwhile, we see the rest of the big brain aliens pop up, and they have learned from that library that humans are not going to make very good slaves overall. They won't, they'll just be terrible.
They're too strong-willed and they won't submit like a, to sound condescending, lower life form. They're starting to realize that the humans are an advanced species and not primitive animals.
Like that low intelligence they mentioned earlier.
Correct. Side tangent, we only ever see 3 big brain people.
That's true.
That's possibly due to budget constraints. Do you think it is only 3 big brain people left in this civilization? And that is all that is left of the people? Because in just a moment, they're going to say that this is the last opportunity they had to, quote unquote, create a new civilization by enslaving a lower species. Or are these just the only 3 that we happen to see and there's more of them?
Well, we could think that only 3 fit in one space because they're so big. Or, yeah, there might just be 3, and 3 men can't create life.
Yep, you just assume their gender. Cool.
Well, they look like men, and
Just assume their gender. Cool.
So that's a really good question. I mean, that's why they kept Vina around, maybe.
Yeah, I just had that random thought. Anyway, back
No, I like it.
back on track.
So while they stopped with that idea, the lieutenant and Yaman go back to the Enterprise.
Yeoman.
I'm going to just mess up her name forever.
Pretty sure it's the only time we have a yeoman, but
Oh, okay. And so they've gone back to the Enterprise. Their warping actually works this time.
transporter.
Transporter. Oh, I thought it was a warp. But anyways.
The warp is what the ship does when it travels faster than light. The transporter is when it
Oh.
moves people from one place to another, just the person.
That makes sense. Thank you. And so now that everybody's gone to the gone back except for Pike, he does.
And we learn that the Enterprise has been brought back to full power because they have no reason to keep them there anymore.
That's true. Thank you. Everyone is going back to normal and to their old life, and Pike is able to find out why Vina can't go with him, because he's like, "Come on, Vina, let's go. Let me save you." And her own illusion is dropped, and she's unrecognizable. When everybody crashed originally 18 years ago, the big-headed aliens didn't know what humans looked like. And so they did the best they could by putting her together.
Yeah, the show reveals that the part about Vina being born to parents just after the ship crash was a lie and part of the allure to get Captain Pike to be attracted to her. She's not a supple, perfect 18-year-old. She is an adult when she crashed. She is aged 18 years. She is horribly disfigured from the crash.
The leader that we've named the Keeper promises that he will let Vina keep her illusion of being that beautiful young woman so that she can stay happy with them. She she'll have that illusion for the rest of her life, I suppose. And she'll also have an illusion of Pike so she can have company.
And that's the last that we see of Vina, is her suddenly just accepting her life, and she seems perfectly content with this illusion of Pike that they've provided her, and they both disappear down the elevator back into the caves of the civilization of the big brain people.
When Pike returns to Enterprise, he does not share why Venus stayed. And Yeoman, hopefully I said it right this time, and Yeoman asks him, who would have been Eve?
Yeah, is this very kind of, I don't know, because she's been,
I think she likes him.
well, it was proven that she likes him, and so this is her coy way of asking, hey, do I still have a shot with you? And of course, that's awkward.
And then the lieutenant yells at her, Yeoman! And off she goes. And then multiple people ask Pike, Eve? And then what, implying, tell me more. And then we have the doctor coming back over. And he is like, as in Adam and Eve? And then Pike goes, as in all ship's doctors. Dirty old men.
And roll credits. So, Jackie, what did you think about season 1, episode 0, The Cage?
That's a good question. I liked it in general, but most of the time I had no idea what I was watching because I didn't know anything about it. So I hope that the series gets better. But for me, I'm just going to say I enjoyed learning what I got to learn.
Well, I hope the series gets better too, because we're planning a whole podcast around this. So it's definitely a rough episode because, well, there's nothing to build off of. This isn't even a foundation to Star Trek. Again, we've said it before, this was a failed pilot to the series. They filmed this and used it to pitch the series to the networks, and they didn't want to pick it up.
Is that why it's 0?
Yeah, because this isn't technically part of Star Trek.
Got it.
When we get to the next episode is technically the very first episode. The next episode, Pike is not the captain of the Enterprise. Kirk is the captain of the Enterprise.
Oh.
Lieutenant doesn't exist. Yeoman doesn't exist.
What am I going to do?
So this is kind of a reimagining of Star Trek. It's a good episode because it establishes kind of some of the themes of Star Trek, but as far as structure and context, it's a terrible episode. So, now as our episode, we have some fun facts. We share some goofs, plot holes, summing up just all the random things of the episode, but we don't call it fun facts. What do we call it, Jackie?
We call them Tribble Tidbits.
And why do we call them Tribble Tidbits?
Because we love tribbles.
Because Jackie loves tribbles, and Jackie thinks tribbles are the best thing about Star Trek.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting when we get to those episodes. So, but...
Well, they're fluffy.
They are fluffy. We love tribbles so much, they're part of most of our podcast artwork.
Yay.
But there's lots of fun facts and lots of random notes and random facts about this episode of Star Trek out there. Specifically, a lot of how this episode came to be, how this episode was rejected, the formation of the show. Encourage anyone listening to go look up more information if you want it. We're just going to cover some of the basic ones that I found interesting. This episode, remember, it's a failed pilot. It did not air on television until October 4th, 1988.
Aww.
This is 20 plus years, 20-ish years after it was recorded. It was filmed and then rejected. A second pilot was filmed, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which becomes episode 3 in chronological order of the series.
Whoa.
Footage from this episode, this pilot, was incorporated into the episodes The Menagerie Part 1 and 2, which are episodes 11 and 12. So, right when we're not expecting it, we're going to have a 2-part episode where we get to relive all of these parts.
They just cut it apart?
They cut it apart and they used some of these plot points to reintegrate it in. They have to change some of it, obviously. Pike is not going to be the captain of the Enterprise. Kirk will be the captain of the Enterprise, but we'll see Pike. We will revisit Vina. We will get to re-experience the big brain aliens.
Wow.
But it's going to be a slightly different story. We're going to have to do something where we might even just condense this down into one episode because it's going to be a lot of repeat. But they do reuse a lot of this footage. So this pilot, The Cage, was finally first released on VHS in 1986 as part of the show's 20th anniversary. I did my math right, 20 years. It was aired on October 4th, 1988 as a special TV event, and it was hosted by Patrick Stewart, who of course is the actor who plays Jean-Luc Picard in The Next Generation. Bald guy number 1.
Interesting.
Mr. Spock is the only character that carries over from the pilot to the rest of the series as a main character. Again, we're going to see Vina again. We're going to see Pike again. Yeoman's not coming back. Lieutenant's not coming back. The martini drinking doctor's not coming back. It was a one and done for them.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Makeup tests for the Orion slave girl scenes where she was painted green.
They do a good job.
That was those makeup tests were not done on the actress who played Vina. Due to budget cuts, they didn't want to pay her to come in. So they did it on actress Majel Barrett. Majel will go on later to play Nurse Chapel in the original series. She also will play Loxana Troy. I butchered that name in The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. And she's the voice of the computer for Starfleet, the Enterprise, all the way up through Voyager.
They like her a lot.
They did. They liked her so much, she also married Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
No wonder she gets to be in all those things.
The makeup tests for the Orion slave girl scenes took a total of 3 days, just the tests, because every time they did the test and they would film it, they would send it off to the processing lab. Again, this is not digital. This is all physical film. It had to go out to be developed so that they could run it through a projector to see how the makeup would appear. And every time they came back, they wasn't green. It was normal flesh tone, and they couldn't figure out why. They tried different colors. They tried multiple times. They eventually figured it out that every time they sent it to the film processing lab, the developers at the film processing lab had no idea that this character was supposed to be green, and that's what they were testing. So they were editing the film as part of the development process so that it would wash out the green and she would appear as flesh color.
Wow. Wow.
The original soundstage where the Enterprise interior shots were filmed, so like the bridge, was filmed on a set and a soundstage that had been abandoned for a very long time. And it was so in disarray that they had pigeons nesting in the rafters. They had to eventually lure the pigeons out of that stage. They spread birdseed on the street outside, and it lured them out so that we don't have pigeon noises in the background. This, of course, would be the first use of a planet designation by calling Class M as a planet that can support humanoid life. Makes sense. It's the first episode. The illusions of Pike's home on Earth is the only time Earth appears in Star Trek, the original series. They never go back to Earth in the original series. They do, of course, in other Star Trek series, but this is the only time that we get Earth. And it's not even really Earth. It's an illusion.
So they cut it out completely.
Yeah, they don't have any reason for the Enterprise to be spending a lot of time back on Earth. The series,
they're in the space.
They're in space. They're on a mission of exploration. They don't need to go back to Earth a lot.
Wow.
And then finally, Roddenberry, the creator, insisted that no one on the Enterprise and later in Starfleet should smoke. This is a huge contradiction to television at the time because a large source of advertising revenue for TV studios were from tobacco companies, from commercials. This was still taking place during a time period where tobacco companies could run commercials on television and radio. That, of course, all changed. They can't do it anymore. But it would be like saying no one in this television show can drink alcohol, but the television show is running commercials for alcohol. So,
Well, you wouldn't want to smoke in a plane like apparatus because you blow up.
that's true. But those are our Tribble tidbits.
Pew, pew.
So, this is the part of our episode where we rank the episode. We are going to pretend that the episode is a member of our crew on our fictitious starship. Every season, we're going to have a new starship. We're going to rank the episode based on how entertaining we think the episode is, but that's going to designate how high of a rank that this episode holds in our crew on our starship and how important it is to our starship. A higher rank means we enjoyed the episode and consider the episode a more important member of the crew, and a lower rank means we think the episode was less entertaining and the episode is more of a disposable crew member. With that being said, very briefly, our ranks go from Admiral at the top, Captain, Commander, Lieutenant Commander, Lieutenant, Lieutenant Junior Grade, and Ensign, all the way at the bottom. And we will post a visual ranking on our Patreon. Jaci, how do you rank the cage?
Ensign.
Ensign, all the way at the bottom. Why?
Because it made no sense to me. But that's probably because I didn't know what I was doing. So, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't do anything for me.
And I'm going to have to say that I'm just going to move this up to a lieutenant. This is going to be a middle of the road episode for me. This is going to be an episode that I was entertained. I think it has a lot of good features that will later flesh themselves out to what Star Trek becomes. Significant plot points to the episode, definitely pacing problems, but at the same time, fantastic scene of sending Pike to hell. Definitely a little bit entertaining, some entertaining moments. So I'm going to bump it up to a lieutenant.
Even the makeup that was not on all the way, like we could see it on her arm and everything, that you're still going to do lieutenant?
Yeah, 1960s makeup, a underfunded pilot. I'm going to give it a lieutenant grade. Keep in mind, we can always give field promotions or field demotions to past episodes to make room for new episodes, while lieutenant, lieutenant junior grade, and ensign can be an unlimited number of crew members. Lieutenant commander, commander, captain, and admiral are certainly going to have some limitations as to how many episodes we can rank that. So, again, as a reminder, we will post a visual representation of our rankings on our Patreon. And before we stop ranking the episodes, why don't we name our ships? Jaci, what would you like to name your season 1 ship?
My wonderful ship is the Galactic Glitterbee.
I'm going to have to type that out.
She's very special.
And my ship name for season 1 is going to be the Cosmic Shark.
Ooh.
Just for fun.
We did animals.
We did do animals. So we will be back next week to trek through another episode, and this is where we give our turbolift tease or elevator pitch to the next episode's plot. I will give Jaci the title of the next episode, and Jaci, with no other information, will give a brief pitch to the plot. Jaci, next week's episode is entitled The Man Trap.
Oh, but Vina's not with us. The Man Trap. Well, we can easily say, I don't know. let's see, the man trap. I can envision some giant plant alien calling like a siren and then grabbing grabbing some officer and then they all fall down and then someone saves them.
All right. And we'll tune in next week to find out if you were right
I will not be.
or close
Maybe.
or not even in the ballpark.
Probable.
If you want more show information, you can find and directly support our podcast at Patreon, patreon.com/Treks and Tangents. You can follow us at x.com at Treks_Tangents. And we're also at Instagram at Treks and Tangents. Jackie, where can people find you and what you are up to?
I am on Instagram as Jaboom. That's 2 B's and 2 O's. I like to post fashion. I play multiple instruments. The tuba is fantastic. I train my service dogs. And I just like to have fun. So I'll see you there on Instagram.
And you can watch me stream a variety of video games over at twitch.tv/PiratePoundTown. On YouTube, I post video games and other random content on my main channel at Pirate Pound Town, and coin collecting and hobby content at Pirate Treasure Hunting. I post socially on Blue Sky at Pirate Pound Town, and I can also be found on Instagram under Pineapple Cannibal because I am proudly banned from Instagram as Pirate Pound Town. Links to all social media mentioned can be found in the episode description. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode, our inaugural first episode. We hope you had fun like we did, and we will see you all next week.
Pew, pew, pew.
End transmission.